Thank you for joining us. I think this is going to be a great session. This is really written for owners of firms, but it also applies to anyone who wants to own a firm. And so I hope we're able to provide some useful content for you today. Why is this so important? I mean, why are we calling this, and why is it important to be your firm's CEO? And it's clear by the registration numbers that it's a popular topic, but you may have ended busy season and looked back at how things went in your firm and wondered, is there any way this could have gone better, or is there a better way to do this? Maybe you need more time to focus on fixing issues in your business. You know, you're thinking, why are we taking on work that we don't want to do? Why are we taking on work that we're not getting paid enough to do? And probably, if judging by polls that we're seeing, your work-life balance was a disaster during busy season. At least it was for many folks that I know. Well, it takes change management driven by CEO-style leadership to get to a better place. But I promise you, you can get there. And I think that we have some useful anecdotes and tips that can show you the things you can do right now before you get into another busy season. I mentioned work-life balance. I think we are seeing that it's essential for firms to be companies that have greater work-life balance, not just for the mental health and the ability to thrive inside your firm, but we're seeing you can't sell a firm, you can't retire and have succession, that the next generation isn't coming along buying firms where they're going to have to work 90 hours a week, or more, no matter how much money they have. So we want you to have a vision for your firm where you're building a CEO-driven system. Delta's CEO doesn't fly jets. The Delta CEO is running the business, and someone needs to run your business so that you can build a system that delivers the goods and services that you want to deliver. So we want to move from being the #1 best technician, best tax preparer inside your firm to the CEO of the firm running that business. So my name is Jeff Phillips. I'm the CEO of Padgett Business Services. I have a background in entrepreneurship. I've started companies. I have been the #1 technician inside a business that I owned, and then went through the transformation to be the CEO of the company. And I have to tell you, it was one of the most profound experiences of my life. I'm very passionate about it. In fact, as CEO of Padgett, we're helping firm owners that are in our network do that on a daily basis, and we're excited about the results. One of the companies that I founded is called Accounting Fly. It is in the recruitment space for CPA firms and accounting firms. And I've learned a lot about the hiring and managing of accounting talent through that experience. And I'm just excited to be with you today. And I want to bring in our president and my colleague, Roger Harris. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning, Jeff, and thanks again to all of you that are spending the next hour with us. We appreciate that you're taking your time to be us. As Jeff mentioned, I'm president of Padgett, and as you can tell by my gray hair, I've been around for a while. And in addition to my role as president of Padgett, I have also run a very large firm. So many of the topics that we're going to talk about, many of the challenges that we're going to discuss, I've had to deal with, and I've had to talk about with staff, family, franchisees, whatever the case may be. So as Jeff said, this is a critical challenge to our industry. I want to echo what he said. It is doable, but it takes a commitment and it takes resources. And we're happy to take, hopefully in the next hour, to start you down that path. We're not going to be able to take you all the way down the path in an hour, but hopefully we can at least show you the path and get you moving down it.
Yep. And we just want to shout out to Padgett, our company, and our staff and firm owners across North America. If you aren't familiar with our company, Padgett is North America's most respected franchise for small business accounting, and we've been in business for over 50 years and have independently owned offices all over the United States and Canada. Our firm owners are trained to run a business like a CEO. They are trained, coached, mentored. They're part of a collaborative community, and we have very exciting growth metrics that we are proud of that you can see there. Our firms grow the right way by attracting the right customers that are willing to pay the fees that they want them to pay. And we grow faster than our peer-sized firms while we're maintaining profitability, even after paying the very affordable royalties that they pay into Padgett. But more on Padgett later. We just wanted to establish that on a daily basis, we are dealing with firm owners who come into Padgett. They've transitioned their firm into a Padgett franchise, and we help them make this transition. So a lot of these lessons that we're going to talk about today has come from that experience. It's hard-fought won knowledge. All right, just a very quick agenda. We want to try to give a landscape of where local boutique accounting firms are today. We believe there are 6 elemental pieces to transitioning yourself into the CEO of a firm, and thereby transitioning the firm to where you want it to be. And ultimately, we want to talk about becoming that CEO. Love to take questions if there's time at the end. Of course, we're going to have 3 additional polling questions as well.
Okay, so what does your current firm look like, and where does it stand in terms of where work-life balance fits? And I think historically, if you ask people to describe work-life balance, they would describe it more of a scale, that if one goes up, the other goes down, almost a zero-sum game. But as Jeff mentioned, it's really more of a puzzle. It's that you have to take a lot of pieces and put it together to eliminate some of the challenges and to fall into your role as CEO. But let's talk about some of the things that we hear a lot in terms of the challenges that probably define your firm. So we're going to throw some things up here that we hear. Probably one or all of these may fit you. That, tax season is grueling. I can't have another one like that, which we say every year until the next one rolls around, and then we do it again. There's never enough time to get everything done, and sometimes that becomes a problem for our clients. Padgett is big in the small business market, and all of us know that over the last few years with the pandemic that a lot of incentives came out for small businesses, and yet they came out during tax season. And the question is, did you have enough time to properly serve your clients in the way that they deserve or need, or were you just bogged down doing tax returns? So did you actually serve your clients better or worse by focusing on tax return? You want to grow, you want to expand, but you don't know where the hours in the day are going to come, or where you're going to, be able to handle more work, and yet you know that that you aren't satisfied with where you stand currently. And then as you kind of look at where your practice is, you might find that you have allowed some clients to creep into your practice that don't fit your overall goal or desires of what your firm is. And all of these things are problems we've all experienced, we may be currently experiencing, but all of them are correctable and solvable. And so we're going to try to take you out of the norm here of what most people experience, and help you again start down that path of building the firm that you really want, that your employees want to work in, and that somebody out there will pay a fair and maybe a premium to buy because you stand out in the industry. So Absolutely. We'll start getting into that, and I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Well, there's 6 pieces here that we want to focus on today, and each part is critical to changes you can make to increase the enterprise value or the sellability of your firm, increase the attractiveness to staff to your firm, increase your own work-life balance. And each one of these takes you acting, stepping out of a technician role and behaving like the CEO. In each one, we're just going to try to go through each piece, but also list kind of the problem, the anecdotal solutions, and an action item that you can take in the coming months that would be helpful to you. And I want to remind everyone, it's important to know where you're going. You may want, and we can't do that for you. Your vision for your firm may be, I just want to work 20 hours a week. Your vision for your firm Maybe I want to start a I want to get to $2 million in revenue, and I don't care how much I have to work to get there. That's on you to figure that out and to have a direction where you're going. But no matter what you want to accomplish, you've got to build capacity to do it, and it takes, adjusting each one of these pieces to do it. All right, Roger, let's go into our first critical puzzle piece and the rules you can't break.
Yeah, I think, we've all sometime in our life put a puzzle together, and we understand that all the pieces have to fit before we know what the picture is. And this puzzle is no different. But the center of this puzzle is always going to be you. Because unless you are driven, unless you are the controller of a firm, all the other pieces we're going to talk about won't necessarily work. It starts with determining what is your goal, what is your target, where are you trying to go from where you are today that you're unhappy with, what is the final result that you want to get to. I'm big on analogies and technology. We all now, remember we used to ride around with folding maps, and now we all get in and we use Waze or Google Maps to go somewhere. And what's the first thing it asks you? Where are you going? And if you don't tell them where you're going, Waze is no good. So the first thing that we have to do is set the goal, set the rules that we won't break, set the firm that we want to be. In other words, where are we going, so we can then set the necessary other pieces of our puzzle to get there. So what do we mean by the rules that you won't break? Where does that come from? What motivates you to do those things? And here's some examples, but let me tell you, these won't necessarily be your rules, and they won't necessarily be my rules. You may want to work 40 hours a week, 5 days a week during tax season. You may want to work 80 hours a week and make $1 million. I don't know but you have to define where your company's rules are. What are the parameters under which there are no exceptions? We all talk about rules, but if we don't enforce them, they're just theories. So let me tell you how to set your rule. You need to have a heart-to-heart with yourself. You need to have a heart-to-heart with your family, because they go through tax season with you. Whether they work in the firm or not, they are influenced by your work. Would they rather have you home more? Maybe they don't want you home more. Are they concerned about your health? So we need to talk to our family. We need to talk to our staff. What things do they see that we could do to make our firm more efficient? But it's going to come down, if you're the CEO, you're going to be the tone setter. You're going to set the rules. You're going to insist that the rules are followed. And every decision after this will become compared to that rule. Is it consistent with the rule? Would it violate the rule? Would it not make it successful? And it'll make more sense as we talk about them. I mentioned I had a practice, and I reflected back on the rules that I had. And I actually went to my son and I said, what do you think my rule was, for my business career? And he looked at me and he said, if I was going to tell you how to define yourself, I would say you got into business because of your love of Little League baseball. And I thought, what are you talking about? But the rule was that my business was never going to interfere with my ability to be part of my son's life as he grew up and my daughter's life as they grew up. And it was those kind of rules that made me make every other decision in my business to be consistent with that. So I'm going to tell you, I don't know what your rule is, but you better have one, and you better believe in it, and you better not waver from it, because without that centerpiece of the puzzle, the rest of the pieces don't work. And you can't have a puzzle unless all the puzzle pieces fit together. So figure out for yourself, what is your rule that you won't break, or rules? There could be many of them. It's not just one, but there has to be at least one that becomes your guiding principle. And that sounds like the easiest, but it may be the most difficult, because this is where you have to dig deep and say, It's easy to write it down, but you got to be willing to stick to it. So that's our first message: is figure out what the rule is you won't break, get input, and then stick to it.
And share it with your team and your family so they will hold you accountable. Our second rule is we want to look at pricing as a system, not as a mushy, emotional, winging it thing. A CEO doesn't run a company that doesn't have systems. A CEO builds systems, and we want you to build the pricing system. And it isn't that complicated. The problem is, how many of you have felt like you took a call from a client and you just gave away advice for free, and you felt like you should have charged for it? And why didn't you charge for it? Why did that happen? What was the sequence of events that led to this moment where you took a call? And I know you were happy to take it, and you gave out your expertise, and at the end of the hour, you realize, well, they're paying me $400 for a tax return, but I didn't get charged for the hour that I paid. So we really can't begin to build capacity to address and create the CEO-led firm. We really can't begin to hire talent, and we can't begin to treat this business as something that you're going to package up and sell until pricing is addressed. And some of the common problems that we see, and some of these may relate to you, is we keep our grandfathered clients pricing too low. I was so loyal, they were loyal to me when I was beginning to them. I'm going to remain loyal to them by keeping their prices at an insane low, unprofitable level because I don't want to increase my pricing. Or the fear-based pricing when you're in the moment of having that sales presentation where you don't really have the courage to go for the price that you know you're worth. Not knowing where your time is going is a problem, because if you're taking lots of phone calls that should be baked into the pricing system, you're really working for free. And the one that makes me the most nervous is that you've taken on a high volume of low paid work, where we see this a lot and we have to dig in with our clients a whole lot, is taking on a whole lot of individual return work maybe that isn't tied to a business, because I know at our firm we are focusing on the small businesses. How many of your clients make up 50% of your revenue? That's a good measuring stick to think about. What is your ratio of volume, and it gives you a sense of, are we out of control? So solutions are, I think the key CEO action here is to take the emotion out of pricing, and we do that by having preset price points. We love the product Go proposal. We implement that across our company. We actually preload pricing so that the more complex an accounting client gets, the more bank accounts they have, the more credit cards they have, the more deposits they might be dealing with. We pre-arrange pricing so that as we're listening and doing discovery meetings with the client, we're able to adjust that pricing on the fly as a system. It's transparent, and they're able to see our pricing roll out. So that's a key sort of action you can take before tax season is there. There's another kind of psychological thing I think about raising prices, and really that's what this boils down to, is we need to be aggressively raising price to market, is that we're going to lose clients, right? If I raise my prices, we're going to lose clients. I can tell you that we look at that across Padgett, hundreds and hundreds of firms. We actually did a study of our owners this past year to see if that was true, and I have to tell you, not only, it's not in here, but not only did no firm who raised prices lose clients, no, of our firms that raised prices last year aggressively, they did not lose any revenue at all. They might have lost a few clients, but their revenue did not decrease. And when you start to study this hundreds and hundreds of times, you realize every time you raise prices, yes, you do lose some clients, probably the clients we want to lose, and yes, that is scary, but it frees up capacity for clients to come in at your new higher pricing, the pricing that's based in a system. And it's almost like a law of physics where every time we do that, we don't shrink despite our fear. We rose prices aggressively during this past year, and there was no one that wasn't receptive to it. Most people were able to just accept it with a little bit of protest, or they didn't notice. And this isn't a commercial for Go Proposal, but the way we have wired up this product has been really helpful to our firm owners to be able to roll out repricing to our clients, generate new proposals when they come back in. So we're thrilled with this, but my other key CEO move is we're going to adjust prices every single year. Everything has a price attached to it. We implement it through a technology like Go Proposal. We understand our rules around prices. One of our firm's rules is that we have a hard deck on minimum amount that we spend on business tax returns. And so that's a rule that we don't want to break because we don't want to decrease that average revenue per client. All right, Roger, over to you for clients.
Yeah, and clients and pricing, we debated whether that is one piece of the puzzle or two different pieces, because they do interact with each other. Because obviously you have to know who your client is to decide what your pricing structure for those clients are. Mm-hmm. A lot of us got our clients one of two ways. We bought somebody else's firm and inherited their problems and their underpricing, or we went out and organically started at zero and made some mistakes, as we all do, and we've never gone back and kind of pruned our client list and made a decision to look at our customer list and see, are we servicing the customers that would, we have the proper expertise to serve, that we have and can focus on their, I'll call them unique needs, though they may not be as unique to some, but who is our customer? What do they need, and can we deliver it? And then secondly, will those customers pay the price that we need to attain our goals? And that means that we don't take every client that walks in the door. We accept the fact that we're going to be too expensive for some. We're not going to provide the services in the way and manner that others want. And that's okay, because as the CEO, we have determined who our customer is and what our price point is. Again, there's so many comparisons to the outside world, outside our industry, but I'll follow up on Jeff's analogy of Delta. Delta has a different customer base than Spirit Airlines, and they're both successful. You can be Delta, you can be Spirit, but you can't try to be Spirit and be Delta, or try to be Delta and be Spirit. Who is your customer? What do you provide, and what will they pay? And every year, you need to free up capacity of the clients who will not meet your goals. Now, I think you assume that means every year you're going to get rid of most of your clients. What I really hope you do is every year you will confront the clients who you don't think meet your target and meet what you do. And I think you'll be surprised to find that many of them will adjust because you never told them what they had to do. So you will lose some, but at the end of the day, to Jeff's earlier point, and this is where pricing and clients work together, getting rid of bad clients doesn't cost you money. It usually means it frees up time that can be replaced with better clients who will pay the fee. And at the end of the day, you will have more revenue either in the same allotted time, or if your goal is to cut back, in less time. And again, I'm going to use a Padgett discussion here. We talked about our main goal, or our main customer, as a small business owner. And one of the issues that we're having to work on right now is all of our tax work used to be tethered to our small business customer. And when that was the case, our revenue split was about 25% tax and 75% other, which gave us a steady stream of income throughout the year, did not make tax season a disaster in terms of hours because we were building tax returns, but we did that. But as we untethered those two and allowed just tax returns to come into our office that weren't tethered to a client, our ratios were getting out of whack because while we were doing a tax return, we weren't getting other fees to go along with it. So we're now focusing, going back to our roots, to retether our tax practice to our small business customers so we can focus, we can be more targeted to them, we can address their needs better. So the CEO has to look at the client composition at least once a year, maybe more often than that, and make sure that whatever your firm's goal is, your client base reflects that. And if it doesn't, address it. Either change them or replace them. Allowing them to stay is not going to allow you to achieve your ultimate goal. So printing client list and pricing, they work together. They both have to be done. Again, as we go through this, you got to address all the pieces. That's why it's a full-time job as a CEO. You can't confuse yourself and try to be the lead tax preparer and hope that somebody else figures this out.
Yeah, Roger, what I'm hearing you say is that the CEO must control the business, not the clients.
Right. And we let our clients, because they represent money, control it too often instead of us controlling it. And that's why we work under their schedule, not ours.
Well, let's talk about clients and how we connect with them. And I think, I want to talk about marketing for a few minutes, and marketing to connect to the ideal client partner. A lot of accounting firms don't do marketing at all. And sometimes that works because they rely on referrals, client referrals. But my challenge with this is that if you have lousy clients and your number one source of marketing is referrals, lousy clients are referring more lousy clients. And while we want to flip that, right? We want to be able to find who is the client willing to pay me for the value that I believe I'm worth. Where are they? What do they look like? Where do they live? And how do I connect with them? All right. So the CEO move is to not accept that I'm just going to keep building off of clients, especially if you're not happy with the fees you're getting paid with your current client mix. If you have a high volume, low cost firm, the way out of this is to redefine the client and create the marketing plan to reach them. And it's a challenge, because how do you find the clients who are willing to pay those higher fees? That is scary. But what if it means you have to spend money to go and find them? We routinely do polls of accounting firms, and one of the pushbacks we get is from accounting firm owners is, I don't like marketing. I don't like sales. I don't like marketing. Well, and it's funny because what we keep learning, the more we all put ourselves out there, marketing isn't that hard in accounting. There's 31 million small businesses, and they all need our services. We really just have to build the right net so that they can find you. So some of the solutions that I think are critical, and the CEO move that I would encourage you to make, is get out a legal pad and a pen and begin to write out your ideal client. What are they paying you? What are you not willing to take from them? What kind are they? Is it individual or is it a business? If it's a business, is it a small, medium, or large business? What are the industries that are interesting to you? The more we focus on niches and pursue that, the greater our value becomes, the greater our expertise becomes, and we can charge more. We have a franchisee who is America's leading tax expert for the owners of thoroughbred racehorses. And he charges about 10x what the average firm does just for returns for these owners of racehorses. And he built that over a number of years by keeping his standards high and marketing specifically to that client base. So it's important to write down your ideal clients. And I would say the other CEO action here is it's good to be willing to invest in marketing services to grow. I think the perception and the fear is that I'm going to throw good money after bad with marketing agencies. I promise you that's not the case. It's really, the problem usually starts when we don't know who it is that we're trying to target. Marketing is an investment that you make. Just like hiring a CPA firm is an investment that a small business makes. According to AAM, who's the Accounting Marketing Association of Accounting Marketing, firms are spending about 3% of their annual budgets on marketing efforts, not including salaries. And so what that means is we're spending 3% of our revenue on targeting the right client. Our opinion is that is far too low, especially if you're trying to make the switch from attracting the wrong clients to attracting the right clients. That number, by the way, across most small business, the small business market is 15 to 17% on marketing expenses. And one of our partners in marketing is called CPA Site Solutions. All of our firms have websites through them. We do social, we do web marketing through them. And what we've learned, there really is a science to this. Once you're clear about the firm the clients that you want to go to be, there's a real funnel of spending actual dollars and letting a qualified partner, a partner who understands our industry, to go and acquire clients. So we have a good concept now at Padgett about what it costs to acquire a client, because we have an entire marketing team that serves all of our firms. So be willing to invest, be clear about who your ideal client is. Roger, let's get into some technology and automating tasks.
Yeah, this may be one of the things, as we look at the industry, fortunately, they're not as old as me, but they're closer to me in many instances than Jeff. So technology at times is scary and overwhelming, and it changes dramatically. And how do you manage? You're probably sitting there going, there's just so many pieces of technology out there. It changes all the time. How in the world am I going to be able to keep up with all of that? And yet, we look at our industry and think back to the days of doing tax returns by hand. And I would be willing to bet a large sum of money that nobody on this webinar still does tax returns by hand. We accepted technology when it came to preparing the tax return and welcome it and love it and can't imagine doing without it. But are we adapting technologies in other parts of our business that could have maybe not as significant impact as tax software, but it interacts how we track the work. It interacts how we price the work. GoProposal is a piece of technology that helps us with pricing. How do we capture data from clients? How do we deliver data back to clients? How do we do our tax research? How do we schedule? How do we deal with remote employees? Does it open us up into a staffing opportunity? So we have to focus as the CEO on technology. We have to know what's out there, what helps us, what's right for us, both right in our practice and in our pricing ability. So the CEO has to take that task on. And one of the dangers, well, there's two dangers, is we're intimidated by it and we don't do it at all just because we don't feel like we're qualified. We're not technology experts, or we take advice from our buddy who doesn't know much more than we do, but they like something, so that becomes our research. So we either don't do it or we don't do it often enough, because technology is changing and changing rapidly. I think we have a slide that kind of shows what we're addressing now. This is just an example of what we do as we make recommendations to our offices on an annual basis of tech stack, and this is kind of a sample of it. What do we use for marketing and sales? What do we use for tax? What do we use for accounting? What do we use for payroll? Now that's today's tech stack. But we also have people that every day are running pilot projects and researching other pieces of software that may fit into as a replacement or maybe something completely off of that. The website is basically some sort of a technology piece that someone is looking at that. As the CEO, I know it's not what you got in business to do. You probably got in business to do taxes. But if you want to have a good work-life balance and make money doing taxes, somebody in your firm has to do this and has to make sure that you're not just current one day. The first day you go in and set this, now you're current, and every day thereafter, you tend to slide farther and farther out of the most current technology. It's a huge opportunity to make your life better, to simplify. It also defines clients, because I'm sure people have to go, oh, my clients, they don't want to use portals. They don't want, okay, well then maybe that's not the client that you can service going forward, because clients don't, whatever you said, to have more money, the goal is whatever you said, and it might be for that to be achieved, technology is a key part. But clients will accept your technology, your client. You have to correct every business. Don't walk into a restaurant and order something that's not on the menu just because you want it. They'll tell you to go somewhere else. Go into McDonald's and order a pizza, and they're going to point you to Pizza Hut. But you walk into an accounting firm and want them to do something they don't do. Oh, sure, we can do that. Well, you have to be willing to say no. It doesn't fit our system. And the technology that you need for you to be successful is not negotiable with the clients. Again, all these pieces have to fit together. That's the key element. You can't just pick the piece that's easiest for you to deal with and say that's going to fix my problem. You have to fix them all. And the number one issue that came up in our first polling question, I think, was staffing, right? So
I think
what do we need to do in staffing, and where does technology fit on that? And one last thing before I'm gonna let Jeff, because he's got the expertise in staffing, is we have an office owner who, because of health issue with his wife, spends his tax season not in Chicago in cold weather, but down in the sunny South working remotely. And so technology is a necessity for him. And his clients have to accept that as a reality of doing business with him. So you can do the same thing. These are all doable. They're not necessarily easy. They're not going to be something you can get off this webinar and go, got it. But they're all doable, but you have to do them all. So with that, Jeff, let's talk about what they said was their biggest problem, which was staffing.
Well, I can tell you one thing: as these two puzzle pieces interact, you won't keep people for very long if you don't continually research your technology stack, because they will see it as a disservice that you're not allowing them to use the latest technology. And it takes a CEO to do the research to find and understand, identify the technology. But that's not the only issue with staffing. Staffing's a challenge, and we understand that it's a challenge, and we understand a lot of the solutions around it. I think I would start with the CEO mindset is for a lot of owners of firms and people that want to start firms is, it's all on me. I have to do the work. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't remind us of our Delta friend, the Delta pilot. The Delta CEO is not flying the plane. He's running the business. He's building the system that hires the pilots and trains the pilots and builds the jets or buys the jets and gets them and schedules them and fills the seats. It gets them from one place to another. You are the same. It might be on a smaller scale, but it is not your sole responsibility, if you want to be the CEO, to do all of the accounting and tax work. It's to hire the people that will get you there. Our unemployment rate is very low. Our unemployment rate for accountants and auditors is 1.8%. And that means that everybody that has a job or everybody that wants a job is employed. And so it's hard to find the people to work for you. Our retention rates are high. Our ability to retain the staff that we hire is a challenge. These are CEO problems that you can change, that I've seen great firm owners address and change and drive down their turnover and be able to fill their jobs. It's funny, it touches all these other puzzle pieces that we've talked about, but it is doable. So, it doesn't end with hiring. We've got to build systems that include successful onboarding and successful training, and that's where retention comes in. Another problem is the world has gone remote. The pandemic accelerated the rise of remote work. To me, that presents an opportunity. You can hire remote people. So are you looking at that inside your firm? So where we want you to go is shift your mindset about your own role. You are the orchestra conductor, not the trumpeter. And yes, you can't be the orchestra conductor 100% of the time. We've got to put that hat on. Then sometimes you got to jump back and play the trumpet, but you have to make that switch. Your job is not always doing accounting and tax. It's hiring, onboarding, and measuring performance of people. It's buying performance management software that can hire remote staff and local staff. It's thinking through your organizational chart and what is the best organizational chart and where you will find those folks today to build the firm that you have defined that you want to build. It's writing clear job descriptions and putting it on paper. It's budgeting enough to make good hires. It's planning for some turnover and some pain. It's building a good onboarding plan. It's understanding that the whole game has changed, and you might have a firm in Birmingham, Alabama, but your team is not all going to be in your office in Birmingham. You will have some full-timers in Birmingham. You will have remote full-time tax managers that live in Seattle, Washington. You might have seasonal remote tax specialists who come in and work in the firm just from January to April, and they are gone from May to December. Or you might use one of the applications that are available where you hire per return talent through a web application that just gets your tax returns done. All of those are out there. They're available to you, and it's your job to kind of build that system. It takes getting creative. Emily and Andre are one of our franchisees in Tennessee, and one of the creative things that they did was they hired a full person staff who had a great tax background, and they paid them all year long to be on full-time salary, although they're really working mostly just for busy season. They're giving her a ton of trust. She appreciates that. And yes, that sounds insane, but they have solved a major pain point inside their firm, and the economics work for them. So build the team and the system that accomplishes your goal, and stop getting in the middle of every single accounting project to get it done. Roger, bring this in on one piece about how do we become a CEO?
Yeah, I'm going to try to go quickly and kind of do in reverse. And I'll use, if you're sitting there, I got to hire more people, they cost more. I got to buy more technology, it costs more. So that means I've got to have clients that pay more. So I got to have the right clients. That's the role of the CEO, is to take all these pieces. Yes, something's going to impact something else. You have to bring them together. You have to put it together. But I'm going to tell you, it goes back to the first thing I talked to you about. You've got to decide, where do you want to be? If it's profitability, great. What do I have to do to have more profitability? What things have to fall in line? I feel like we should have gone to Delta to sponsor this after all the references we're making. But here's what I can promise you. Of all the planes that take off today for Delta, they all know where they're going. Not a single one of them gets up in the air and then figures out where they're going. Why? Our business has to be the same thing. We have to identify where we're going and then let all these other pieces work so that we achieve the goal of getting to our destination, whether your destination is profitability, better work-life balance, both. Those aren't mutually exclusive, by the way. You can achieve both. You can be more profitable and work less. But it starts with setting the goals and then addressing all the other puzzle pieces that need to be adjusted to get there. But you can do it. It's being done. There's no reason you can't do it, but it requires the company to have a functioning, working CEO. And you can still do a few tax returns so you feel good about yourself, but you got to spend time being the CEO.
Start with 1 hour a day tomorrow, and make that commitment, make that a new rule that you will put on that CEO hat of your firm and begin addressing all these anecdotes and lessons that we've laid out. So just wrapping things up, and before we get to the final polling question, I hope that you will take that hour a day to behave like the CEO. It's putting on the business hat, not working in the business hat on. Ignore your email for a few minutes, ignore that inbound, and work on your company and take it day by day towards where it needs to go. It takes thinking, it takes planning, but we encourage you to do this and do them one step at a time. You will not change it overnight. And before we do the final polling question, I want to tell you a little bit more about Padgett before we break. And the best analogy I can give to Padgett is you decide where you want your firm to go. That's on you. And you decide to be the CEO of your firm. But everything else we do for you and we do with you, with coaching and with training and as part of a community. Padgett is a very special organization for firm owners. Those 6 pieces of the puzzle, Padgett in many ways does this for you, giving you capacity to behave like the CEO. We have a proven system that's been around for 5 decades. It's almost like hiring 20 professionals, our Padgett full-time staff, whose job is to work for your firm in tax support, in marketing, in technology. You know, those 20 professionals, you get them for, in most cases, less than the cost of an internship or an entry-level hire. Our firms have an amazing track record. They grow at two times their peer group. You want to increase profitability, have a profitable firm, have capacity, have good systems, target the right clients, and grow. And we have the system that will do that with the evidence that you will make more money as a firm owner as a part of Padgett than you would not. A couple of capacity ways. We have a tax support team. Our central tax professional team solves problems for you. They will solve tax problems for your staff. As new regulations come out, we absorb those regulations and create a pitch and a playbook for you so that you don't have to spend time spinning plates figuring out what the IRS is talking about. We do the R&D on technology stack. We figure out the technology that will make your firm run and that constantly evolves. And by the way, we negotiate big economies of scale deals for deep discounts on the best technologies in the market that offsets any fees that you pay to be a part of our company. We help with staffing and have discounts on staffing partners that can plug in the right people into your firm. Our marketing team and support provides website, social, lead generation services. You want to expand your firm into another market, our marketing team will get you there, and you pay less in fees to Padgett than you normally would to a marketing agency that you would do locally. You would pay locally. You don't have to do it alone. Be a part of a CEO network that is on the same journey as you. That's my pitch. Thanks for listening. If you'd ever like to learn more, we're going to drop a link in the chat box to join us for a 30-minute information session. That link just came across now. We're not going to hound you. It's right for some people. It's not right for everybody, but it never hurts to have a conversation. You'll likely hear from our head of franchise sales, Chris Thomason, who is a great trusted resource. So that being said, thank you for listening. Thanks for bearing with me as I talk to you about Padgett. Roger, this is what I propose. What's one takeaway and one action you would recommend if the audience asked you where should I start? You give your answer. I'll put you on the hot seat. I'll give mine, and then we'll close up for the day.
I think the first thing I would say is if you're suffering the problems that most people are in our industry, is go home tonight and ask your family, what would they like to see change? And then I think that will help you identify, because I keep coming back to this, unless you buy into making changes, it's not going to happen. And start the path and be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. If we can help, we're here to help. If not, good luck. Start on your own. This is doable. You need to do it. If you're going to eventually sell your practice, this is the practice that'll bring you the most money.
I love that answer. I will tell you that mine is get out a blank piece of paper and write what you want your firm to look like in 5 years. It sounds like something out of out of an elementary school. It's not. When we create vision for ourselves, we start to put the pieces together. to accomplish that vision. So I hope you'll do that. Please reach out to Chris Thomason. I've sent you his email address there. We'd love to chat with you about joining Padgett, our franchise of firms. You can convert your firm into Padgett. You don't lose your brand or anything like that. Join our webinar, and we look forward to seeing you down the road. And thank you so much to Roger for CPA Academy, our team here behind the scenes, and to all of you for being here. Wish you well.